We've heard of stories of women who have come out of the slums of small villages and were basically told to stay in their very small little homes, right? Don't even come out. You just stay in there. And some of these women had lost their voices, like literally lost their voices. I am no psychologist, but I'm sure fear and um, just oppression in general. And you see these women transform and you get to hear the stories. And it's really a beautiful thing.
Hey friend, if you've ever wondered how God's Word connects with the messy, broken parts of your story, you're in the right place. Welcome to Beauty in the Brokenness, where we have honest conversations about the Bible, our real-life struggles, and the hope God brings for healing. I'm your host, Teresa Whiting, an author, Bible teacher, and trauma-informed life coach, but mostly a friend and fellow struggler. No matter who you are or where you've been, I'm inviting you to encounter the God of rescue, redemption, and restoration. The God who is still creating beauty right in the midst of your brokenness. Well, welcome, friends. I am excited to introduce you to Gretchen Huijskens. Gretchen is the founder and CEO of Trades of Hope, an ethical, fair trade fashion brand that empowers women out of poverty. She's a pioneer in the field of sustainable business, founder of Trades of Hope, she founded Trades of Hope in 2010 to create jobs for women around the world and alleviate the hardships and break the cycle of multi-generational poverty that occurs from lack of opportunity. And Gretchen, I cannot tell you how excited I am to have this conversation with you. So welcome, welcome.
Thank
And
you.
before we jump in, can you tell the listeners a little bit more of just about who you are and the work that you're doing?
Sure, sure. Well, thank you for having me, Teresa. I'm honored to be here. Yeah, I was a stay-at-home mom for a long, long time. Felt like a long time some days, until we started looking into our adoption. We wanted to adopt our third child, and this was in about 2000. And so I started that process. I just started putting feelers out there, having conversations. I found out that some friends were going to Haiti on a mission trip. They were teachers and they would spend their summers down at Mother Teresa Orphanage. And I went to Haiti. I saw what was going on there. And that began this journey of learning about just incredible depths of poverty, what women go through around the world, and seeing that there were possible solutions that charity was never going to be able to touch. And so that's I'm mother of three. I have a husband, and now I'm living here in Florida and running this business that, yes, we sell bracelets, but it's not about the bracelets or the earrings or the bags. It's really about the women behind each piece that makes those and the stories that, each piece carries
Mm,
with it. So yeah.
yes, yes. So tell us, how did you go from visiting Haiti, seeing the poverty, seeing the need to actually creating Trades of Hope? Like what was the process and the heart behind creating the
Mhm.
business?
Yeah, it wasn't a short process. It was about 8 years, actually. I went to Haiti. I started with the volunteer work, but quickly realized that orphan care in Haiti was really, really lacking. I had been to 4 different orphanages, spent time working there, started different adoptions that fell through for various kind of corrupt reasons, and just was so heartbroken over the whole thing. And with that, I was with another woman at that time, and she had had more experience in Haiti than I had at that point. She had started taking donations down to Haiti into these different organizations. And again, she's heartbroken too because she's realizing they're corrupt as well. And all the donations she had gathered, taken down, probably weren't getting where they were supposed to. So we're basically 2 adult women sitting crying in Haiti one night, realizing like, wow, and just seeing what God had continued to reveal to us. And it was heartbreaking. And we really kind of just realized, like I remember sitting at dinner one night with her after a very long, horrible day and realizing, wow, God's really calling us to open a home for abandoned children here. And I'm going to tell you, Teresa, I was not pleased about it because
Mm,
I knew I did not know how to do this.
right.
Like who am I? I've been to at that point, been to the country a handful of times. And who am I to do this? Except I knew we could do it better than anything else we'd seen to that point.
Mm,
Knew that. And so that led us to opening this orphanage and a school for the community, because I thought that's how we really reach the community and start to see real change. And a medical clinic. My sister's a nurse practitioner, and so she had connections to, well, of course, herself, but also additional medical professionals. And so we started a medical clinic for the community as well. And that was 8 years of serving these people and this community, but it was so full of frustration for me because over the years I kept learning these little lessons that showed me we were just a band-aid.
mm,
It was not creating the change. I mean, I'll always believe in educating children and girls, so don't get me wrong there. But the orphanage for itself, for sure, huge band-aid on a much bigger situation. And I kept meeting these mothers who loved these children and infants and brand newborns that they were handing over, asking if we would take and find homes. And these women love their children just as much as we love our children. We are so much more the same than we are different from any other woman in the world. And it was just heartbreaking. And the more I learned, the more I realized like this isn't a solution. It's not a good solution. It was the only one I had at that moment. So, and I knew there were certain situations where I knew that if we didn't take in that child, she was just going to go down the road to the next orphanage, which I knew was not as good as what we could offer as far as care. And so it got to the point, about 7.5 years in, only not that long, but that you're taking in these children and you're like, I don't even know if this is the right thing. This isn't the right answer. But again, I didn't have another one at that
mm-hmm.
point. So I fell in love with this idea, though, of microfinancing, job creations, very quickly realizing if these women would have had jobs, they would have kept their own children. They would have taken care of them. Sometimes the children had aunts or grandmothers that would have kept them too. Even in the event of there were a couple of mothers that passed away during childbirth, those mothers of the mothers, the grandmothers and the aunts loved those babies already,
Mm,
but they could not feed the kids that they had at home. They themselves were starving. And so you kind of realize all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, if she just had a job, that would not solve every problem in the world, but it would solve a lot of them. And it would give her opportunity to make the changes in her life that she wants to see. It would allow her to craft her life like she wants to see it. And, I believe in charity. There's room for charity, there's a place for charity, but that it doesn't solve problems long terms. It helps during certain situations and it's needed. But I just love this idea of creating lasting change um, that would give solutions that I felt really match more with God's heart in keeping families together, showing real love in a way that we just couldn't before the job creation came along, in my opinion.
yes. So, like what I'm hearing is you're watching, you're seeing, and you're realizing this isn't a solution. And so you came up with or you developed Trades of Hope as a way, instead of here, let me take your child, here work so you can keep your child, so you can take care of your child and feed your child and educate your child. What an amazing, I want to say concept. It's just it's awesome that you took that step instead of just, I think a lot of Americans maybe feel like, hey, look at the good work we're doing. And it is good work. I don't want to
Mhm. It
discount
is.
that kind of work, But
Mhm.
I love that you were kind of digging a little deeper. Like, let's get to the root of the problem, go
Yeah.
upstream. Like that thing about, instead of just pulling people out of the river, let's find out why they're falling in the river in the first place. And so I feel like that's what you did with Trades of Hope. Um, and really, this is the first time probably my listeners are even hearing about Trades of Hope. So can you just explain, like, what is it? How does it work?
Well, we work with artisans around the world. 80% of them approximately are women, and they are women who just need an opportunity. They are women who are coming from underdeveloped countries and or women who are coming out of really bad situations in which they need a stepping stone to create the life that they want to live. Because we do have some groups here in the United States that we're really passionate about working with as well. And so, yeah, our job is just to be that go-between. It's to work with them to create something beautiful. In some cases, we really help design and give some guidance as to what other people in the United States might want to bring. But then our job is to bring that to market and to bring that to the consumer here in the United States with a little bit of education feels a little bit too formal, but with a little bit of education that, my goodness, your dollar can change the world. How you spend your dollar matters, and you have so much potential to impact the world in a positive way when you spend that dollar thoughtfully. So, um, I just can't tell you, like, you talk to the women that we work with, the artisans, and we have monthly calls at Trades of Hope where we bring artisans on the call so that they can, interact directly with people who are buying and selling in Trades of Hope. And they are just so grateful. And it's in a way that it's not, I'd never seen that when we were just handing out things as a charity. They're grateful, but I'm grateful too. Like, we really all help each other. It brings purpose and meaning to my life. I know that's true with other women who have been involved with Trades of Hope for a long time. It is fulfilling and a beautiful way to hold hands with each other, to
Yes.
really, to come alongside of each other as human beings and support each other and be thoughtful and care about each other. And so, yeah, it's, we use the word fair trade because that's kind of what people know, but it's about ethical shopping. It's about using those fair trade principles to purchase things that were created in a safe environment. The people making them have a living wage. There is no child labor. People who are making the things that we're consuming are not being harmed. It's actually they're being helped. And, I think there's just something so thoughtfully beautiful about that when we come together and just create a better world for each other. And then, to get to know these women, Trades of Hope's been around now 15 years, and to see the stories
Mm-hmm.
of some of these women who, when we met them, they were, in their early 20s in kind of crisis mode. And now they're in their mid 30s, some of them. And they have homes, they have children and that they have had in school, and they're so proud of themselves, as well they should be, because they're working hard, and they're strong, capable women. And they have put their kids in school. They've turned their lives around. And the fact that we get to play a small part of that, because we're not there day to day doing the work, they are. That we get to play a small part of that, I love. I feel so privileged that I get to. So,
Yeah. So I'm going to just share with the listeners how I discovered Trades of
oh
Hope.
yes.
So I was at a speaking event in Pennsylvania this past summer. And, there's vendors all around the whole building. It was at a big church and at every table. And I'm not a shopper. I'm just so not a shopper. Like, I don't buy things I need. There's women who go out and they spend too much money. I don't spend enough money. Like, I need to buy things and I don't. So I would walk past the vendors avoiding eye contact. Like, I don't want to get in a conversation and feel like I need to buy something. But there was a table at that event and I just kept going back and going back and going back for multiple reasons. First of all, the products were so beautiful and there was a variety. So, like, there was clothes and beautiful leather purses and earrings and bracelets and wooden trays for my kitchen table, like just all kinds of different things at all different price points, which I loved. But what kept drawing me back was the stories,
Mm,
because by every product or by most of the products, there were these cards. And for those on YouTube, I'm going to hold one up. There were these cards about the women and it told their story. And then one day I was going into lunch and I happened to be right next to Bonnie, who is a Trades of Hope partner. And we sat together at lunch. I'm like, tell me about this company. It just seems amazing. And when she told me about the heart behind supporting women, women who have been oppressed or trafficked or living in poverty, I was like, wait, that's my heartbeat. Like, those are the women I want to serve. And yes, I serve women in the United States, which a lot of us don't to the degree that these women, in other countries experience these kinds of things. But my heart is to serve women and to see God lift women out of things like shame
mhm,
and loss and despair. And I'm like, you guys are doing this in a completely different way. My
mhm.
way is I bring scripture and I teach the Bible and I think that's a really important way. But your way is like a hands-on, practical. You can now put food on your table. You can now keep your child. I'm getting chills just talking about it because I got so excited. I was like, I want to sign me up. Whatever this is, I want to do it. So, um, and I honestly haven't even had a chance to do anything with Trades of Hope, but I was like, I need to learn about this. So last week I had a conversation with Shelby, who was kind of mentoring me and teaching me a little bit what to do. I placed my first order, and no joke, 10 minutes before we got on this call, I got my first box. And I was like, oh my goodness, I feel like a kid at Christmas. I put the earrings on, but then I realized my headphones covered them. So I'm just going to show
Okay.
you like my new favorite earrings. These, oh my goodness, so beautiful. And I love the little bags that everything comes in. Like everything's not only is it beautiful, but everything is packaged beautifully and high quality. And the cards, everything comes with a card about a story about a person. So I just was like, I want to talk to the woman who created this because it's
Oh, thank
amazing. And I also want to let the listeners know I'm going to open a Trades of Hope link. And so Christmas is coming. If you're like, I want to shop with purpose. I want to buy something meaningful. I'm going to buy gifts anyway. And trust me, you will find gifts of every kind. This is a way to buy things we're going to buy anyway. But instead of going to TJ Maxx or Home Goods or Marshalls, those are my favorites, you can go online and know that what you're doing is literally changing somebody's life. So
you. Mhm.
that was a lot. That was kind of my story, but I just am so excited about what you're doing. And I would love for you to share, Gretchen. You know the stories. Like, is there a story or two you can share with us of a particular woman? You don't have to give her name, but just give us one or two stories.
The one that always comes to mind first for me is a story about a woman, Gina. She was a very young mother in Haiti, and she happened to come to the workshop the day that I was there. And I had some other women with me, and we were doing a tour of the facility, which was basically a big rented house, right? Where women are sitting and they're making beads and they're making jewelry and things. And the woman who runs that ministry, it's called Papillon, is Shelley. And Shelley and I now have been friends for a long time. I so admire this woman. She starts telling, kind of on the side, kind of quietly, like, yeah, that woman's name is Gina. She's actually just starting here today. And we just say hello, we go into the other room. She starts telling us that Gina actually had been walking around the neighborhood just outside of Port-au-Prince, and she had been knocking on doors. She was looking for an orphanage because she has this baby, Chris Nelly. Gina was starving. She looked very unhealthy and obviously had really been struggling. But she had her baby, Chris Nelly, and Shelley tells us that Kristinalee was actually down in the daycare. So Kristinalee was about 9 to 12 months at that point. And Kristinalee still looked good. But you can tell with the situation there, Gina was giving everything she could to Christine, and Gina couldn't go on like that. So she was literally wandering around because she had heard of an orphanage. Well, the guards at Shelley's gate went and got Shelley, said, "Hey, there's this young woman walking around with this baby looking for an orphanage." Shelley goes out, tries to find her. She has to like walk around the neighborhood, ask around, sees Gina, offers her a job. She said, "How about you try? Doesn't always work out, but how about you try and you come and start tomorrow at in the workshop." And so that first day we were there, we were literally witnessing the beginning of this transformation that we've been able to watch over the years then. And probably I had been there in between, but it was several years after that point, maybe three. And I said to Shelly, I'm like, "So where's Gina? I haven't seen her in a year. Like, I want to see Gina. Let's go say hi." And she's like, "She's right there, Gretchen." I'm like, "No, Shelly, remember that woman, Gina, with the baby Christine?" And she's like, "Gretchen, that's her." And she starts laughing. Gina starts laughing because she knows what's happening. This woman, for one thing, looked about 8 years younger. She looked healthy. She looked happy. She then goes on to tell me, "No, Chris Millie isn't here." Gina's sharing because she's at preschool down the road. And so, because at that point she was probably 3 years old or so, and they start preschool pretty early in Haiti. And so I was just blown away. I mean, Gina and Shelly and I end up kind of giggling. I think I'm tearing up then too, like I kind of am now. Like just the transformation and the fact that this young woman is there. She's working with now friends. She's eating regular meals. She is, like what a transformation. And I just feel so blessed that I was actually able to witness that from day one. I feel like that was such a gift. And, because we hear the stories, we meet lots of other women, like Mosmin on one of the cards that you held up earlier. She is a woman in India that Elizabeth has actually met. My daughter has met. I have yet to meet Mosmin in person, but she is the same age as my daughter. And now Elizabeth is 30, but she was probably 22, 23 or so when they met in person. And you hear the story of Mosmin and her family and, how desperate they were and how little power Mosmin had to change any circumstances for her and her family until she got this job at this workshop. Now she helps manage a good chunk of this workshop. And I think that's cool too, right? Like you have these entry level positions where women can come in with no skills. And a lot of the goal of this workshop, yes, of course, it's to provide the safe house or the safe working environment. It's to provide the living wage. It's also to elevate people wherever they choose to go whenever possible. So some women are happy just continuing to make jewelry, and that is totally fine. But other women, they'll learn how to make jewelry, and then they're like, "Well, wait, but what about that? What about those women who are doing like inventory quality control? Or what about those women who are working on computers and they're learning Microsoft programs? Or what about the women who are doing the pictures? Can I learn how to do pictures of the products?" So you see these women and you get to hear the stories and experience how they can, you know, make choices of how they want their lives to go.
Yeah.
And I just
I
kind of love that.
I just want to cry because I feel like what you're taking somebody from a situation where they're hopeless to where they're actually dreaming. Like
Mhm.
I can dream. It's not even
Yes.
just I can survive, but like maybe I can do
Yeah.
something else, and that's just so beautiful and so powerful. So
Yeah.
I don't apologize for crying. I
Good.
think tears
Good.
are
Nor should
good.
you.
Tears are
Nor should
good. Um, One of the things you talk about is that you say that poverty isn't just a lack of money, it's a
you.
lack of opportunity and a lack of voice.
Mm-hmm.
How have you seen that? How have you seen women, first of all, develop their voice a little bit like we were just talking about, but What role does that have in breaking the cycle of poverty when women can have a voice, when they can develop relationships with others? How does that affect their lives?
Well, we have seen women be able to come out of abusive situations. And I mean, that happens here in the US, just, like other countries. So women who now can earn the financial freedom that they to make decisions for themselves. That's always that works in every culture, right? But I think especially in some places, the the I think sometimes it's hard for women who are here in the US who have kind of grown up in a privileged situation, at least speaking for myself. It takes some education to realize, wow, that's not the norm. It is not the norm that women are, or young girls or young women are taken seriously, get to decide much of anything. And it does change when they have the opportunity to have a job and earn some income. Um, I've heard very specific stories of husbands that remained husbands, but their attitudes toward their wives definitely changed. Does that solve all problems? No. But for some, it helps. It certainly helps. We know for a fact that when women have jobs in many cultures, in impoverished Indian cultures, let's say as an example, child brides are still very much a thing, unfortunately. Although it is illegal, it still happens in the slums and some desperate places in India. Well, the longer you're employed, just like the longer you can stay in school, it helps make sure that you're married at a later time in life and or employed. So if a mom can keep her girls in school, that also helps too,
Mm.
because then those girls can stay in school longer and their chances of getting married as a child are incredibly reduced. Also, the same thing if a girl is 15 years old, if she can be working, she's not going to be pressed into getting married as quickly. Yeah, it just gives women options. And otherwise, they can be forced by their parents or society
Hmm.
into certain situations. We've heard of stories of women who have come out of the slums of small villages and were basically told to stay in their very small little homes, right? Don't even come out. You just stay in there. And some of these women had lost their voices, like literally lost their voices. I am no psychologist, but I'm sure fear and um, just depression in general. And you see these women transform and you get to hear the stories. And it's really a beautiful thing.
It is so beautiful. I'm in the middle of a series called Seen. I'm writing a Bible study called Seen, and it's about women in scripture that were overlooked and undervalued and lived under oppression and lived who were ignored by society or by even sometimes their families. And
Mhm.
I talk often, I like to give the historical context and the background, and they feel so far removed. Like that was back in the Bible in those days. And yet that's happening still around the world.
Very
Not
much so.
necessarily so much in America, but in these other places where you have brought hope and freedom to women. Would you educate us a little bit more? Because I do feel like we live in our little, well, at least I do, I'll speak for myself. I live in my little American bubble of like a nice house in a nice neighborhood, and I have no idea, although I have traveled at times and I've met with people in other countries living in, small shanties and cement block houses with dirt floors, but it feels like you go there and you have this compassion, and then you go home and you think about them once in a while, and then like the memory kind of fades. And how do we keep that in the forefront? And for those who haven't had that opportunity to even witness that, like, can you just educate us a little bit about what it's like for women in other places in the world?
Mm. Yeah, I'm lucky. A lot of the women that I end up meeting with, I'm picturing last time I was in Uganda sitting on the floor talking to these women because they sit on the floor to roll beads. So we're all on the floor and I'm hearing their stories. By that point, a lot of times they have kind of broken out of that place where they were, right? And they're excited to tell me the stories of where they were at and now what they're doing now. So, like, these women are pretty awesome, you know? And that's always a big realization for me, too. When you're meeting these women, you're like, wow, I grew up in a very middle class, at the time, I thought very boring family in the mid Michigan, right? Now I feel like, now I realize how privileged that was. But how far they've come, because just so many women around the world have not had access to education. If they did, it was up till like fifth grade in many cases. Very little say over how their life develops, where their life develops, where they live, how many children they have, how they spend their days. There's still a big reality out there in the world where women spend their days fetching water in many different countries. And you hear the statistics of that and these women doing hard labor to fetch water. Well, this woman is so much more capable than fetching water. And then hearing, where these stories of where they came from, in Miss Florence's house when we were sitting on the floor doing beads in Uganda. One of the women is sharing how she was abused by her husband and basically ran away with her daughter. Went to Kampala, happened to meet Miss Florence. Somebody said, "You've got to go meet this woman." Miss Florence helps get into a home, and she was able to take me and show me her home. And really, the home was a little cement block room. It had a double bed that her and her daughter shared. It had a mosquito net. It had a jukebox, which I thought was really funny. And she just shared with me, like, she's just so proud of herself. Like, she's much safer in her mind, which is awesome. Her daughter is in school. You and I would look at it as most people would and think, wow, they have nothing. No, to her, they have everything that's important. Is it everything they want? No, but they're working towards that. And when she shared with me, she had a jukebox because she loves to dance. And I thought, oh my gosh, well, then of course, all of us have to dance. So there's a
Yes.
lot of dancing going on. But like, yeah, and the fact that she's so happy she can make some bracelets and be able to create this life because without the opportunity, like she doesn't have any choices. I feel like I
Right.
keep saying the
Right.
same thing and I'm trying to find different words
Right.
for you, but yeah, it's just so beautiful when a woman can make her own choices, when she can have that voice, when she knows she's seen and that she's valued. Because I think that's the thing too. If you are only around people who do not value you, it's hard for you to see that, right? To know that. But I've seen these women come into these communities, whether that's Miss Florence or the group that we work with Most Means Group. Um, One of the things that all of these women talk about too is that now they're in a community of other women who support and love, speak truth and light into each other. And I mean, that's just beautiful in itself, right? They're creating their own communities so that they can be seen and heard and appreciated for what they do bring to the world.
Yes. Yes. I'm so in love with the mission of what you're doing. And you've brought together faith and entrepreneurship in this
Mm.
beautiful way. What are the challenges of running a business that is also founded on Christ and his work?
Well, I would say that it's better now, but 15 years ago when we started, it was almost like people doubted it. They're like, well, how can you have a business and you say it's doing good? I think it's better now. People are more aware of how that can come together. But it definitely, like, we would get challenged by Christians more than anyone else. Like, how can you make money and say that it's doing good? Because it's a for-profit business. Yeah, it is a for-profit business. On good years, there's profit. But first and foremost, it's about serving and helping other people. And then trying to use Christian principles to run things and to treat things, treat people well, to make decisions that we believe are God-led and that are pleasing to God. How we do things to me is really important, as it is to everyone in our organization. And sometimes that means not making the easiest decisions. Sometimes it means making decisions that don't make a lot of sense per se. But for us, it is about doing the right thing by other people. And the guidelines that we do that are, you know, our belief that this is God's business. This is God's mission. This is what we've been called to do. And, just asking for guidance and prayer in that, even when things are tough, because things are tough right now. Business is really slow. And I really do need to stop and think quite often over the past couple of years, like, wait, this is God's will. We're doing this, right? Yeah, it is. Yeah. It's not a hard answer, but sometimes it's hard to believe that we are still in God's will when things are tough, I guess. Like
Yes.
in the beginning, the business went through the roof. And for the first 7.5 years, it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And then, it started to decline. And then with COVID, there's been even more of a decline because how we did the business had to change somewhat. And so really needing to stop and choose to believe, yeah, we're still doing things to which we have been called in a way that we believe is truly pleasing to God. Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
that's a little hard, but that's what keeps me going. Because if it was just about selling bracelets, I don't care about selling bracelets.
Right. Right. Yeah. I love it's really about the people behind the
Definitely.
work. How does it work as far as the artisans and like maybe give us the process of,
Mhm.
the business part, the when somebody buys something from Trades of Hope, what does that mean?
Well, it depends on the group that we work with. Some are really grassroots, like they've contacted us. There's a woman, Ya, in Cambodia. Her mentor, her Christian mentor, contacted us and said, "Hey, this woman's in a really, really hard spot. Can she make something for you?" She had been attacked with acid and she couldn't go outside and all of these things. Could she make something with you so she can earn an income? And then we work with her very one-on-one to develop something that we can purchase from her and then sell. Other are kind of these established fair trade groups that some of them in India were created by Mennonites like in the 40s. They've been around. This isn't new to them. And so it's really fun actually to be able to work with all these different groups all along the way. So we decide what we're going to purchase. We pay for that. We follow fair trade principles when we're doing that. So many times we have to pay upfront, and then we get all the products here and then we sell them. So we've always paid a price that it paid for the products ahead of time. So that's not a hardship on the group. We also just don't negotiate very much. Like what they say is the price is the price. Now, so if we send a design of a necklace and it comes in and it's really expensive, then we're like, oh, I don't think we can sell it. Like, I think that's going to be rough. So we'll take some of the stones out of it or something like that. Like, usually we kind of negotiate with, let's bring down the material cost then. My favorite pieces are the ones that are very handmade, that are, we have like the earrings, some of the earrings that you bought today, the silver hoops. Some of the bracelets that I have, they have little silver fingerprints. Oh, I love that bracelet too. Yes. They have little silver fingerprints on them. So I love the pieces that you can tell, like all the beaded work and stuff like that, that the money for that piece has gone into a lot of labor. When you're paying for something, there's a lot of labor in that.
Mm-hmm. I was just gonna say I got a couple of those bracelets with the fingerprint, and I just
Uh-huh.
think that's
Love
the coolest
them.
thing.
Me too. I love that group. I was just saying to some of our team yesterday, like we're kind of hoping to start working with them more and more again because I just love that group so much. So they're out in the like a couple hours outside of Guatemala City in an area called Jalapa, and just a really great ministry ran by nuns. Um, Out in the middle of nowhere in a place where neglect and abuse runs pretty heavy due to the extreme poverty, a lot of alcoholism. So it's a home for children, but then as the girls get older, they can go into the jewelry program once they hit a certain age, they can start training to be an apprentice in there. And then once they're adults, they can earn money and create jewelry that other people sell kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's really great.
Gretchen, you wrote a book called
Right.
Our Voices Rising. And tell me a little bit the heart behind your book.
Well, first and foremost, I love the idea of telling some of the stories of the women we have met, the Florence, the most mean, Clara in Guatemala, and like all of these women just deserve to be celebrated and shared. And one of the best things was showing them and sending them and taking them books. Like the cover has Florence and I walking in Kampala. I, and we asked permission. We showed each woman like this is what I'm wanting to print, this is a picture, are you okay with that? And but it was so fun to take them to in Guatemala. I took one to Clara and I showed her the picture of her in the book and she knew it was coming, but it's still fun to see it
Oh,
in person,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and just to share this idea, because I do think that is something that's still kind of novel, is this idea that, how you spend your dollar, you can make the better world a better place with how you spend your dollar. So, trying to get that out into the world and knowing that you do have the capability of alleviating poverty, human trafficking, things like that.
Mm.
By positively and affecting where you spend your dollar. Or we have the capability of getting something really, really cheap and possibly hurting somebody as well is the flip side of that. That's a little harder to see actually, and to know what's really happening. But we do know there are positive ways with certain brands who are fair trade or B corporations. There are brands that are out there doing things the right way, and supporting them does help support women around the world for sure.
Yes. Is there a passage of scripture that's kind of guided you or been something like a inspiration for you?
Mm. Well, I think the whole book of James is like a guideline on how to live your life. But when I start to doubt, when things get harder, there are hard days, knowing that we are called to take care of orphans and widows in their time of need. I mean, it is black and white, right? James 1:27. It is right there. And yeah, okay, how can we not do this? I think that it is God's will and it's God's heart. And there are many different ways of doing good in the world, but I believe this is the one I'm definitely called to.
Yes. So, how can people find you, find Trades of Hope besides the links? I will have links for everything in the show notes, but are there other ways that people can connect with you?
Well, I am on Instagram and I'm trying to be very good about checking my direct messages. So, DMing me on Instagram, otherwise contacting through Trades of Hope is good too. Yeah.
And then finally, just as we close up here, I know that there's listeners that are like, wow, Gretchen is making this huge difference in the world. Like, I want to make a difference and I don't even know where to start. What's a first step? What would you say to that woman who just wants to be a positive force, who wants to make a difference in a God glorifying way? What would you say to her?
Mm. Well, I would say that typically women diminish themselves a little too much. I think that women need to know that they can be a light in any situation and just being brave enough when God opens a door to go ahead and go through it and see what's next. But I think we have so much power in just showing love to those around us and yeah, being open to new possibilities of what God might have in store. Because if you would have told me in, you know, 2000 that someday you're going to do all of these things and that you're going to be blessed to be able to meet all these people, and I that would have been crazy, right? But God just has such great plans if we're open to it and we're kind enough to ourselves to know that the possibilities are there, because women are awesome. Like, just so much light to be given and shared, and just by being kind to each other and seeing what's next. So many
Yes. Thank you so much for just taking the time to have this conversation, Gretchen.
welcome. Thank you for having me, Teresa. It was really fun talking to you.
Thanks for hanging out with me today on Beauty in the Brokenness. To find anything I mentioned on the episode, go to teresawhiting.com/listen to find all the show notes. And you guys, I would love, love, love for you to check out the Trades of Hope link, because this is an opportunity for you to partner with me, with Gretchen, and with women all around the world to make a difference in their lives, to bring them up out of poverty, to give them a voice, to set them free. What an amazing business this is. And so you have to check out the products. They're just beautiful. One of the things I love is on the website, you can shop by cause. So you can shop by, like, I want to support women coming out of human trafficking. I want to support women coming out of extreme poverty. I want to support women who are trying to put their children through school. So there's that way to shop. There's also, you can shop, let's say you have a heart for Uganda. You say, I want to shop things that were made by women in Uganda. So there's all different ways to shop, or you can just go in and look at absolutely everything. Give yourself some time, because there is so much good stuff in there, especially at this time. There's a Christmas shop and there are so many cute things. So I just wanted to let you know, like, that is something worth your time. Take a look at that Trades of Hope link. In closing, I want to leave you with this prayer from Numbers 6:24-26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you